Welcome to Huddle Up. We are here with another episode. Rob Clock is here. Hi, Rob. How's it going?
Hey, friend.
And our guest tonight, John Weaver, as he called it, a small offensive guard who played in the late 60s and was at school in the early 70s. John, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it.
Welcome, John. Thanks for doing this,
Thanks,
Coach.
Rob.
It's great to have you just because we had the spring game last weekend and you were there and you were involved in a lot of the activities. Let's just have a conversation about how that all went that weekend. What was your takeaway from that whole experience that weekend, John?
Well, first of all, it was the first time I really got a chance to hear Coach Gallardi speak, and how impressive he was. And I think a lot of people around me were saying, "Wow," So he won a lot of people over, I think,
I
just
agree.
talking to the group. And
Oh yeah.
but to start Friday night was awesome. Bill Cockley Award recipients. Ron Johnson did a great job, has a great message. And I even told the coaches this. I think what impressed me, the players were in attendance and most of them were standing.
Mhm.
And, for anybody of any age to stand that length of the time and not get fidgety and that type of thing, hats off to them. I mean, I think they're to be complimented, and hopefully that's just a sign of the quality of players that are on the team, and they're bringing into the program and that kind of stuff. The scrimmage, practice, but there were scrimmage moments that looked good too. I think I guess they're trying to find a quarterback, but I think the guys that were out there, quarterback, a couple of them were transfers, and they looked really good. So overall, I think, and to top it off, it wasn't raining, or it wasn't.
We finally got good weather.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
first.
For me, it was an awesome weekend.
Great.
Yeah, real quick, my take on Friday night was just so impressive.
Yeah.
Not only Coach, but all the recipients, and just you're kind of sitting there going, "Holy crap, these guys are legit." And John introduced Bowman. That was impressive. I did not know Al or anything about him, and you did a great job introducing him. And I really enjoyed listening to him talk. And actually, I got to meet him more and his wife over the weekend. I actually sat with him at breakfast the next day. What an impressive couple, and just quality guy, and just his background is just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
You did a great job introducing him. Rob, you did a great
Thank
job
you.
with the intro to Ron Johnson.
Thank you. That
I
was
just
fun.
that was so far of the four that we've done. That was one of the best ones I had. I really
Yes.
enjoyed the whole weekend.
Well, I just one other thing that maybe some people don't even realize, but after everything Friday night, a bunch of us went out and sat out on that little patio
Oh
in the
man.
back of the hotel. That was so cool. Some of the stories I heard there, I know I've heard a couple of them multiple times. A couple of them I'd never heard before, though, and that's what makes this weekend special. You just get to hang out with guys from different generations, and you just catch up, and that was fun. I really enjoyed it. And again, we had great weather for it, so
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
helped.
But
Yeah, and getting back to Ron, I've heard Ron speak. I've heard his message several times. He delivers a great message. He really
yeah,
does.
he does.
And I think the kids they were taking it all in.
Yeah. That was great. Well, I appreciate you being there, man. You did a great job with it, both of you, and Rob, obviously you as well. So we appreciate it. And man, I'm hoping for bigger and better things next year and just continuing to build that alumni participation in the whole thing. And you're right, Coach Gallardi did a heck of a job. He had some great moments, for sure, for sure. All right, Ron. All right, John, back to you now. John, what got you to Shippensburg, man? What was the thing that brought you in, and who recruited you?
I tell you what, to me, it was a no-brainer. I had an older brother. When I was going through high school, he was going through college at Shippensburg. He didn't play football, but I mean, as a family, we would go up to Shippensburg. We would visit uh, the family days and all that kind of stuff. I got to see over his 4 years a lot of Shippensburg football games, and this is where I want to go. And honestly, I had some success wrestling in high school, and I had a couple opportunities, University of Pittsburgh and University of Maryland, but I wanted to play football. And obviously, I wasn't going to play at the University of Pittsburgh or University of Maryland. So, like I said, it was just a no-brainer, to come to Shippensburg and enroll and uh, participate in the freshman squad as a freshman. We weren't eligible for varsity, and then that's how it all started.
You said you were a
Nice.
small guard. What was your size back in the day when you
I'm
played?
not even going to tell you that because I'm embarrassed to tell you, but uh, it was small, and honestly, the guards back then, we ran the Green Bay when they were really good power sweep offense with a lot of trapping and sweeps and a lot of pulling. So really, they wanted quickness out of the guards, and I wasn't big, but I was quick. One of the fastest linemen on the team. So I was able to get out there and in the traps and the sweep situations. So
We
we had
talked.
running backs, Louis Orndorff, who you know, Eddie
Yep.
Hammers, who you know, they were bigger than at least our guards and center.
Wow.
Uh,
Well, it's funny. We talked to Josh Oswalt last week, and he said like he couldn't make the team probably in this day and age. I felt the same way. I don't know that I could be an offensive lineman on the squads today. They're so big.
The
well, they
game
are. They're huge.
Yeah.
All right. So, as a guard and as a kicker, what would
Uh,
you say is the most significant memory from your playing days as a Red Raider?
I tell you what. First of all, freshman team, we had a great time. Our coaches were Art Fairchild and Bob Orndorff, who at that time was
Yeah.
director of financial aid. And I think over the years he progressed up the administrative ladder. I think by the time he retired, he was one of the top administrators.
Yeah.
But Coach Orndorff is one of the nicest guys you will ever meet. I don't know that I ever heard him yell. Uh, but you didn't want to disappoint him. You liked him so much. Uh, you probably would have yelled at yourself if you made a mistake, and he didn't have to. But we also had a couple, a GA and actually a varsity player who didn't get enough credits the semester before. Not that he was a bad student, but he was ineligible and he helped out. So that was our coaching staff. And varsity, it was Coach Dolbin and Coach Perbula and I think three GAs. So yeah, a far cry from what a football program and what a coaching staff consists of right now. And you have to appreciate what they did. So few people and all that. But I tell you what, one of my greatest memories, uh, first varsity game, we were playing Mansfield. They had a really good quarterback. Name was Stu Casterline. Uh, the Catholic Church right next to campus. There was a priest there, Father Bob, who spent a lot of time on campus, just hanging out, talking to students, and that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of anticipation that year. We were picked to be one of the top teams in the conference. We were in the Western Conference then. So he had a mass for us, I think like Wednesday night or Thursday night. And I'm not Catholic. I'd never been to a mass before. The only thing I can remember a couple of times he would say, St. Vincent of Lombard. Uh, I don't know if that was legitimate or not, but anyways, so we go up to Mansfield. Our quarterback was hurt but playing. Louis Orndorff was hurt but playing. Eddie Hammers was hurt, not he didn't even make the trip. Uh, so in the locker room, now this is my first varsity game. In the locker room, after the pregame, we go into the locker room. The coaches, no coach in sight, and Louis Orndorff starts to talk, and he's given a pregame speech, and he gets up and he says, "Guys, uh, there's someone that's not with us. Hasn't missed a game in 4 years." And he's starting to talk. And now seniors are starting to cry. I'm thinking, well, he's talking about Eddie Hammers because Eddie didn't make the trip. Uh, and here Lou is dedicating the game to his father who had passed,
uh,
uh, following the previous season. And, that's all of a sudden it hit me. That's why Joe McCoskey and Steve Bumgardner and those guys are balling. And I mean, you talk about emotion. This is my first varsity game. Uh, I don't know if I've ever experienced that kind of a emotion in a locker room. And we went out and we won the game. And they uh, they had plays where receivers dropped balls that were going for touchdowns and everything. So I'm thinking, well, maybe Father Bob and or maybe Louis' speech had something to do with it. But I mean, that's quite a memory. And I remember, I mean, I said I was a guard. We were playing California. later on in the season, and they had a great quarterback, Jeff Petrucci, who eventually became the head coach at California, and he could run. I mean, he had a great arm, but he could run. He was killing us. We had a couple defensive ends that were injured, weren't playing in that game. And Coach Dolbin, all of a sudden comes to me and says, Weaver, said, get out there at defensive end. Don't let that guy get outside of you. I was scared to death. I mean, that I was going to, I never practiced a down of defense.
I was going to say.
I know. But I mean, things were simpler there. Schemes were simpler, that type of thing. I'm playing left defensive end. I remember they ran an off tackle. I made the tackle, and a play or two later, Petrucci flushes and he starts scrambling to my side, and I was able to catch up with him and tackle him out of bounds. And I'm thinking, this is great. In the meantime, we're losing pretty good, but towards the end of the game there, Chuck Higas, who had a pick six, and we really kind of started to play well, that kind of stuff. But I think it was the fear of messing up, and the wrath of Coach Dolbin that probably had me motivated and maybe made me a step or two quicker. But those are small things, but memories that last forever, really.
Absolutely.
And I know another one. We were playing Lockhaven, and we beat them. It was at Lockhaven, and our starting left guard, Charlie Bolash, at halftime he's throwing up. So okay, Weaver, you're going in. You're the second half for guard. So I went in left guard, and we were throwing the ball a little bit, and I'm going against this big dude, this down lineman, and his name was Aerosmith. Great name for a rock group, right? Yeah, Aerosmith. And what I didn't realize, I mean, he was like an all-conference player, big, tall, and he had been disciplined. He didn't play the first half. So I think, oh yeah, okay. Now he's probably coming out with tears in his eyes, and I'm doing a good job because I wasn't too bad against the tall guys that came up tall, and they gave you their upper body, and I could deal with that. And I'm doing a pretty good job. And meanwhile, Charlie Bolash is on the sideline yelling at me, John, way to go, way to beat that big guy. Wait. And I'm thinking, Charlie, would you shut up? I mean, you're just going to make this guy madder and madder. And but anyways, those are some. And tell you what, another great memory was 1973. A couple years after graduating, Gene Epley was the coach, and he was going to have an alumni game to finish up spring ball. Were you involved in that?
I played in one, not in that one. I played in.
Okay, all right. Well, that was the very first one.
Yeah.
So we came in Friday, and got our uniforms, and one of their GAs was named our honorary coach, and we had one practice. But when Coach Epley was talking to us, I'll be honest, everybody wanted to do well, but I think everyone was a little bit nervous.
You want to survive,
and yeah. So everybody was just kind of making jokes. Anytime Epley said something, somebody would crack a joke. And I heard afterwards that Coach Epley even said said, "Hey, these guys aren't taking this serious at all." And so bottom line, but our practice, and I did play defensive end in that game. And I mean, here's how it worked. There were three of us: Bob Swift, Rob Stoner, and myself playing right defensive end. And we just set up our own rotation. And I think other positions did the same thing. And we did have the benefit of the seniors that had just finished their eligibility. So they were young and in shape and that kind of stuff. But this game had me questioning everything that as a coach, we believed in as far as training, conditioning, practice, because we came out the next day and we won 17-7.
Oh,
and I'm just, that's not supposed to happen.
That's not supposed to happen.
So for most of it, now Jimmy Monas had a touchdown pass to Al Bowman.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
One of those
you had a good team, though. Yeah, you had a good team.
Yeah,
you were loaded.
One of those seniors, Jim Ellingsworth, who was a longtime athletic director at Big Spring High School. He was one of the guys that was just graduating. He had a pick six, and we had a field goal. And Shippensburg, Ricky Diggs
Yeah.
was one of the running backs.
Wow.
They had a linebacker, Jeff McNally, I think. I knew him as a high school player. He played at Cedar Cliff. I think he was an all-state player. Went to Kentucky and had transferred. So I'm thinking, oh man, they're going to be so much better. And
Yeah.
so again, it had me questioning the value of training, conditioning, and everything else. But those are some of the memories. And
That's
but
a good one.
again, you'll agree, most of the memories are the relationships.
Oh yeah.
Uh, you long forget about things that happen on the field, and you never forget the relationships that are built.
John, I can't believe how parallel our careers were. I was a left guard, and in the spring game when I was an alumni, I played defensive end because we
Are you
didn't
serious?
have enough defensive ends. Yeah.
Okay, all right, and I bet you did good at it
No,
without
I did not. It was a
any
struggle.
practice.
Well, now in that situation, there was a training issue because we were all out till about 4 o'clock in the morning the night before the game, and
I,
it was we were in the
I,
locker room prior to the game, and I just thought this is bad news because everybody was hungover. There were guys smoking cigarettes in the locker room. It was really bad.
I believe it. And we had two of our players. We were all suited up, ready in the locker room, and two of the players waltzed in. They're street shooters. They'd been out the night before, and
Oh yeah.
as many others had, but they must have really been out the night before. But it was fun. It
Oh
was,
yeah.
and I don't. I mean, I think the plan kind of backfired for Coach Epley, but
Yeah.
anyways, it was great for us and for most of us. That was the first and only game we played on the current field,
Oh,
the stadium.
oh really?
Okay.
Wow. Well, that's a great. It's just a great time too. It was a lot of fun when I did it. It's a shame they can't do it anymore because of all the liability issues.
Insurance and
Yeah,
liability and all
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Now you talked about Dave Dolbin and and the impact he had as a coach. Everybody talks about Pribula. What was the influence on you as a person? With these coaches playing football, how did it impact you and who you became as an adult?
I honestly, I think growing up, I know high school, we had a coach who had been a Marine, uh, and we thought we were Marines. I mean, he was
Hmm.
our spiritual coach, and we would win a football game. We would sing the alma mater. We would sing the Marines hymn, and I mean, and he was such an influence on me. And I mean, Coach Dolbin. I mean. Coaches then were different. They were tough. They were no nonsense, but you respected them. And and those of us that got into coaching, it was because we want to be like them. We want to do what they're doing. And I think we went into teaching because we wanted to coach, and we also had, at least I had, great teachers too, who were great role models for me. So no different. And I said, to be like Bob Orndorff. I mean,
Mhm.
there's not a nicer person, walking the face of the earth than Coach Orndorff. So, a lot of great people at Shippensburg and before for
How
me.
did Coach Dolbin and Coach Orndorff compare? Be in the same coaching room? There's very different personalities there.
Very different.
Absolutely. But you know what? I mean, and that I think that that's a sign of a good staff too,
Yeah.
because first of all, you have to be who you are. Everybody, if you try to be something other than what you are, the players read right through it. And sometimes, there are players that are gonna uh, that a person like the Coach Orndorff style is going to motivate. There are players that
Right.
Coach Dolbin style is going to motivate. So, I mean, I think a good staff has a combination of everybody, and hopefully every player is going to connect with somebody in a
Yeah.
big way.
Quick story on Dr. Orndorff a few years later. When I was in college my freshman year, I got myself in a little bit of trouble, and he was the dean at the time. So I had to go in front of him for disciplinary reasons. And he was very much the coach in that office as well. And he
Okay.
used football to kind of motivate me, and he straightened me out pretty quick. And then years later, I ran around with his sons, Eric and Bob, And
Yeah.
he brought that up, and he right away was like, "Oh, I remember you." And we started talking, and he was a class act, like you said. He was just a
Oh,
really good.
and it was great to see him 2 weeks ago too
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
at the spring event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He always brings up that memory. But so I'm really glad John's here tonight. I had the chance to coach with you 1 year at East Pennsboro High School, and I always thank you for that opportunity. I learned a lot that year from you and Steve Stoner, and that was just a fun staff. We had a great group of kids that year. Ship has turned out some really good coaches over the year. Tell us about your career as a coach and as a teacher.
Well, my career is my first job was at Harrisburg School District. The very first year of Harrisburg High, the merger between William Penn and John Harris, Mickey Minnick was the head coach. And by the way, Joe McCoskey, teammate at Shippensburg, Tom Andros, teammate at Shippensburg, Charlie McKendry, teammate at Shippensburg. We were all on the staff together. And Rob, I don't know how much you've been around Mickey, but I mean, he's just
He's
uh,
amazing.
to me the most organized
Yeah.
person I've ever met in my life, and he was absolutely incredible. Uh, he pretty much gave us a whole history of the game of football as we were having our preseason coaches meetings and all that. But the really cool thing about him, you know, right out of college, I knew nothing really. I mean, on the grand
We
scheme of
thought we
things,
did.
but he
Yeah.
never made you feel that you didn't know anything. I mean, if you had something to say, he listened. It may have been the most ridiculous thing in the world, but he never shot you down. He never put you down. I mean, that was a trait that Mickey had, and just talked to him today, as a matter of fact. But he was incredible. And then Rich Lichtel. You talk about two different human
Yeah.
beings. Uh, Coaching with Rich Lichtel at Mechanicsburg. Rich is the craziest
Yes.
person I've ever been around in a good way. And
From
God bless
Shamokin,
him.
Pennsylvania. Yeah, remember
Yes,
Rich was from Shamokin. Yep.
that's right. And he left us way too early.
Yeah.
But I couldn't wait to get to practice just to see what insanity was going to come from him. And but the kids loved him. After my first year, I was walking down the hall at Mechanicsburg with one of the players who was a senior. He said, "Coach, how did you like coaching this year here?" And I said, "Oh, I loved it." And he said, "Yeah." He said, Coach Lichtel made us all feel that we were important.
Mm.
And those kids, the cliche, they'd run through a brick wall. Those kids would do that for Rich. So I was blessed. The first two coaches that I coached under, Mickey Minnick and Rich Lichtel, completely different, but uh, you know, just great coaches in their own right. So and then from Mechanicsburg, I got my first head coaching position at East Pennsboro, and then moved on to Redland. And so many great coaches, so many people that went on to become head coaches, like yourself, like Fort Chapman, and so many others. And then um, my last great coaching experience was when my son got head job at Redland, and I had an opportunity for about 6 years, I think, to work with him, and that was a great experience. When the kids were starting to warm up, Chad and I would throw. We would just throw football at each other, and I just thought, how cool is this? I'm
Mhm.
60 some years old, and every day I get to play catch with my son,
Yes.
and that was just an experience that I'll treasure forever.
Yeah.
Now, your son Chad had a great career at Westchester,
Yeah.
and you got the experience watching him play ball.
He did.
And Rob and I talk about it all the time, just watching our kids when they went through sports, high school, college, and all of that, and what a thrill that is. Talk about that experience. You being a coach, and now you get to sit in the stands and be a fan.
Right, right. For his first 2 years, I was still coaching at Redland, and then I stepped away from coaching, and no distractions for his junior and senior year, and for example, distractions. His sophomore year, their opening game was with New Haven, Connecticut, at New Haven.
Jeez.
We were playing Cedar Cliff Friday night, rained out, postponed to Saturday, so we couldn't go up to New Haven. So
Ah,
Hmm.
anyways, the last 2 years I got to see everything. His senior year was just just a tremendous year for he and his teammates. they got to the national semifinal. But
Yeah.
Nice.
second game of the season, they played Northwest Missouri State, so we got to fly out to that. And you go to places like that, and you see Northwest Missouri. There aren't any Division I schools there, so
Oh,
Northwest Missouri State, they're the big program,
so they're
and
like
you
a
saw it.
Division 1, yeah.
Right.
Right. You saw it when you went to their stadium, when the traditions that they had, and the banners of their national championships and all that kind of stuff. And then they finished up the season in the national semifinal with Valdosta State,
Ooh,
down at Valdosta State.
always
And
good. Always
Always.
good.
oh, yeah, so they lost to them, and then Valdosta State 1 or 2 weeks later won the national
Right.
championship. But I mean, what a great experience he had. Great coaches. He had awesome coaches, and I one of his best friends on the team, father played tight end at Fresno State, and he was the department chair, the kinesiology department chair at Ursinus College, and so we kind of gravitated to each other, and we would always upgrade our tickets at Westchester and our seats, and we would actually we would stand together on and it was great because I'll be honest, we wanted to get away from some of the parent sections where there was a lot of criticism of the coaches and
Yes.
that kind
A
of
lot of
Yep,
stuff.
right.
So
negativity. Yep.
we just we wanted to get away from that, and just had a great time with
Nice.
that. And on that criticism, I don't know, Rob, Bill Zwan,
Yeah. He's another
Coach
class
Zwan.
act.
He was quarterback in the 70s at University of Delaware. Awesome coach. Uh, Chad, he came in Chad's junior year. He said, "Man, I've never heard anybody that can yell as loud as that guy." But he was a stickler for perfection. And they won a lot of games big that year. So you get into the fourth quarter and you're playing some of the younger guys. But when they made a mistake, Coach Zwan was all over them. And you would hear in the stands, "Oh, well, you're winning big. You're winning big. Why would you do that?" And it's like, no, he's preparing them for when they're the starters and when they're in tight ball games. And
Yeah.
I loved him. He was so I loved the relationship that I was able to even develop with the coaching staff at Westchester, and it was just a great experience for all of us. And I just my words to Chad after the loss at Valdosta, I just said, "Chad, I hope you have somebody in your life that makes you as proud as you've made us." And
Oh,
I mean, I couldn't think of anything else better to say to him
That's
after
perfect.
that's
a
a great one.
disappointing loss.
And I will tell you, John, a lot of us enjoyed it kind of through you, and we followed Chad's career too. And it was always, you always see how he did and all of his stats. And yeah, that was a lot of fun because,
Sure.
being friends with you, we knew Chad since he was a little kid.
Right, right. And I'm preaching to the crowd because you've gone through it too, Rob. I mean, you know exactly
It was a lot of fun.
what I went through.
It was a lot of fun. All right, so you coached for a long time, and now you've been involved with the Big 33 game, even when you were still coaching, actually for a long time. And now your daughter Nicole has also joined you, helping with the Big 33. Tell us about that experience and how you got involved and how the game's going.
Okay, well, getting back to Mickey Minnick. Mickey was the executive director in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And after the 85 season, my first season as a head coach, he brought me into it, and I haven't left. So I'm going into my 41st year with it right
Wow.
now. And, as time has gone on, my responsibilities have gotten bigger and bigger. I'm the director of football operations now. And when Nicole and Chad were little kids, they would tag along with me some of the things, and Nicole kind of fell in love with it. She went to college, got a degree in sports administration, and now she's working, and actually now she's my boss. So uh, she's surpassed me in responsibility. So I have to account to her, and but I'm very proud of her. She's the COO and the chief financial officer
Wow.
the organization, and she works very, very hard. And also another person, Rob, I don't know, Chad Brubaker, longtime coach at
Yep,
Springford,
yep.
who just stepped away from football. His wife Jillian is also, and together those two, they're like the glue.
Yeah.
that,
And that's
that
what you
that
need.
hold this organization together. So again, I had a chance to coach with Chad, and now I have a chance to work with my daughter, and you know, there's I don't have to tell you a lot of challenges. We've had to reinvent the game.
Yes,
I
you
mean,
have.
in its prime, it was an end of July game. The kids were all being redshirted. They were going off to college, a week or two later. Uh, and then all of a sudden, we get the early enrollees and kids have to report a lot earlier now. So we were forced to move the game first early into June and now even into May. So we tie it in with Memorial Day weekend. And, the people aren't necessarily in a football frame of mind there. As far as spectators, and so we've really had to reinvent it again. We used to have the blessing of all the college coaches for their kids to play, because back then they were all being redshirted. I
Right.
don't care how good they were, and it was a feather in the college coaches' cap to have kids playing in the game. I don't have to tell you, if I'm a college coach and I get a great player, chances are if I'm lucky, he's 3 years and on to the NFL. Now it's a year-to-year thing. So I probably have to play him and keep him happy as a true freshman. I don't want him to play in an all-star game and risk getting hurt. So we've had to deal with a lot of this. But I think, we're still getting a lot of great players. Pennsylvania has a lot of good players.
Mhm.
So for the kid that opts out, then that's just an opportunity for another kid who's still a pretty good football player. And if it was just a football game, I think it would really be struggling. But when you look at the buddy program,
Yes.
which is really
Fantastic.
amazing, the host family program, the cheerleaders, now as Ron explained, we're tied in with girls flag football and that type of thing. So it's when you look at all of those are the things that I think keep it going.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now.
It's got a great
Well, a couple years
reputation.
ago, Fran, John talked me into my family being a host family.
Oh, nice.
So we did it for 3 years. We had great kids. And actually, one of them, Dave Plungus, is now the associate head coach at James Madison.
Huh.
So he was the linebacker coach, and he's still coaching linebackers. But with the new coaching staff, they wanted to keep somebody from the old staff. They offered it to Dave, and he is the associate head coach. So I will be going down to see a JMU game this season when I'm retired. So the other one was I learned when you coach with Coach Weaver, you have to volunteer at the PSFCA clinic. Okay, and you assigned me to help Gump out, and I had to introduce speakers and I had to do all kinds of stuff. And I did it for years after that, even when I wasn't coaching with you anymore. But
Right,
it was a
right.
good gig.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun. Met
Well,
some
and spending time with Gump is an adventure in itself.
another Westchester boy, yeah.
Well, it's interesting too. I mean, Big 33 is so popular. I mean, they got the whole Super Bowl legend of Big 33
Yeah,
players and so many guys who are Red Raiders from past years. I mean, I always know Freddie Glasgow and some of those guys. A lot of guys.
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
still
As a
very
matter of fact, I'm
respected.
going to see one in a couple of days playing golf with a fraternity outing. Doug Pugh. I don't know if
Oh,
any
yeah, I
of you
remember
guys
Doug
know
Pugh.
Doug.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
He actually started out at JMU and then transferred to Shippensburg, but he was a big 33er. And but again, as I said, the playing memories, uh, the big 33 memories, the greatest memories probably don't have anything to do with any of the
Yeah,
games, but with seeing these players interact with their buddies.
Yes.
Seeing the host families interact with their players and that kind of stuff. Those are the real memories,
Yeah.
and some of the honorary chairmen that we've had that have come back, and matter of fact, this year it's going to be, well, maybe it hasn't been announced yet, so I
Ah,
better not say
yeah,
anything.
we better not do
But a
that.
we're
pretty
revealing
pretty
the
big
secrets.
name. You'll recognize it. Yeah,
Nice.
I almost made a mistake there.
I would
What
have
was
edited
so
it out for you. Don't worry.
that was what was so cool
Hey,
when
my daughter would have really been mad at me.
but when we were the host school at Lower Dolphin and the team would practice there, that was always cool to get to see the kids, to get to see the caliber of ball player. And
Right.
then also like whoever was the honorary chair, they would always come to visit. I was like, wow, do you
That's
see who
cool.
that is? And yeah, I got to see some really famous people. And it was impressive. Yeah. This
Yeah.
is kind of cool to be at our school.
Oh yeah, that's real cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you talked about a lot of changes as you're going into Big 33 with in football and how you had to adjust. You know, the big thing we've been talking about the last couple of weeks and even at the spring game was NIL, transfer portal and all that. With your years of coaching experience and the players you've been exposed to, what do you think of the impact of all of this in high school sports and college?
I tell you, I don't know where to start. I just feel like the NCAA opened up the floodgates. I think they said, okay, we can do these things. And I'm just not so sure that they really had too many controls or parameters in place.
No.
And I think they're trying to go back now and seize control of some of this situation. And boy, that's kind of tough to do after, like I said, after the floodgates have been opened.
Yep.
So there, I mean, obviously there needs to be some controls. As far as, I mean, I'm just throwing out some things. How many times can you transfer?
Yeah.
When is the transfer window? Now they did make a little change this year, I think, which was for the good. Uh, you look at the kids that are opting out of the bowl games now,
Mhm.
and this and that, and I'm just I it's very frustrating to see what's happening, and like I said, I mean, somebody somehow has got to kind of seize control of this whole situation, and uh, and we've all seen the transfer portal work for players,
Yes.
who have gone on, maybe weren't getting much playing time, and they went somewhere else, and wow, all of a sudden. So, I mean, we've seen value, but again, there has to be some rules in place, some
Yeah.
controls, and and you know, there's something to be said about you also have to compete for a job too.
Mhm. Mhm.
And let's not make it too easy to
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you want the kids to be competitors,
Right.
and if it's a good team, your best competition should be on the practice field.
Yeah.
Right, right. Well, and it's that whole commitment and loyalty to the program and building that, like you
Right.
talked about, all the relationships that gets torn apart whenever your guys are jumping out in and out.
Exactly. What we all experienced 2 weeks ago, the camaraderie, the bonds, the friendship, the love, that didn't happen in 1 year.
No.
That came over time. And now if kids are going, from one team to the next, to the next, to the next, they're not getting that.
Mm-mm.
And that's, in my opinion, that's what you have when all the playing days are over.
Yeah.
You
Right.
have those relationships, those memories, and I feel bad, for the kids that are just going for the purpose of elevating their status for the NFL and never get to experience those bonds,
Right.
those relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John,
It is.
John,
It's
yeah,
sad.
we mentioned what a great job Gallardi did talking to everybody last week. It's kind of a question we didn't really run over or run through with you, but what would your words be to him as a new head coach? And Rob, you could contribute here too with your experience. What's some wisdom you can give to him as a new head coach going into his first year?
I tell you what, I loved the one comment that he said, and he said, "Look, this is my first year as a head coach. Uh, Basically, I'm going to make some mistakes. I don't know everything. My goal is that 1 year from now, I'm going to laugh at what I am now." And but there's a lot in that statement. He understands that there's going to be growth on his part. So, and he also understands I can't be Rocky, I can't be Mac, I have to be me.
Mhm.
Uh, so honestly, for a first year head coach, and I mean, he's certainly been around the game a long time and been around coaching a long time, and has had the benefit of coaching under a lot of different head coaches, other than
Yeah.
Mac and playing for Rocky, and that's all going to benefit him. So
Yeah.
you pick something from this coach, you pick something from that coach, and you put it into your package. But I think he's really well on his way. I really do. Uh,
Yeah. I
so
think the other one too, John, we've used this word a lot today, but relationships. And I think you can see it within his staff, but then most importantly with his players. And again, he had some great models, role models with Rocky and with Mac. And I have to say, just from my coaching experience and watching you coach and your relationship with the kids when I was just a young buck and I didn't know anything, and then my first head coaching role, I still didn't really know a whole lot, but the relationships I built with those kids, heck, one of them teaches right next to me today. He was my 2,000-yard rusher, and that made life a lot easier. But that bond, he needs to build that. And I think he's well on his way. I think the kids are aware of what he wants. They want the same thing. And I just think that's the key. If they are on the same page, and let's not lie, I hope he has a little bit of success to
Right.
get that rolling.
Yeah.
That's going to be big. And if it is a little challenging, that's reality. But if he could just have some early success, that could really get that rolling. And I think he's going to have it.
I agree, but I mean, it seems like he's won over his players,
Yeah,
and certainly his coaching staff and the alumni.
Yeah.
So that's big. But winning over your players is the most important
it
of
is.
all those
It
things.
is. They have to
And,
believe what you're saying.
Rob, you mentioned something, and I'm going to share this with Fran. When you were coaching with us in '92, that your first year as a teacher? You were at Elizabethtown.
I was at Elizabethtown. I was long-term subbing. No, it would have been my second year.
Okay, but Fran, Rob would come to practice, and he would talk to me about what happened in school that day with his students and that kind of stuff. And I just thought, wow. I mean, this young guy, he didn't want to, come and talk to me about football or about anything else. He wanted to talk to me about what was happening in his teaching part of his career. And I just thought, okay, this guy, uh, you know, he's going to do all right.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I don't
And he
think I've
did.
ever shared that with you, Rob. But I mean that has that's with me forever.
Nice.
Well,
I
there
was
were
so
some
impressed.
fond memories of that season. We had a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. You and Steve Stoner, I learned a lot from both of you, and just I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Well,
One of
good.
the things, and one of the things from spring game weekend, just to go back to that too, I liked at the end when Drew Gallardi, and I always enjoy going on the field at the end with the players, and we do that every year, which is
Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
I think. But Gallardi broke it up, and he had the recruits on one side, current team in the middle, and the alumni on the other side. And he was like, "This is the future, the present, and the past for Shippensburg football," and bringing that all
right,
together. And I
right.
love that. I just thought that was a
Yeah.
great moment, and I think that's just always a great way to end that weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, thanks a lot, Johnny.
Is there anything else you'd like to
Yeah,
discuss,
you
Coach?
anything else?
I tell you what, I'm going to tell you another story. Okay.
You
And
you
I
probably got
mean,
a couple of them. You probably got a couple
there's
stories.
a purpose for the, not as many as Fort Chapman, but anyway, uh, uh, my son's senior year in college, they played East Stroudsburg. It was homecoming at East Stroudsburg, and they were honoring one of their teams back in the 50s. I think that was a championship team or whatever. And game was over, and we went. The team goes up to the field house, get on the bus. You go up and say bye to your son. And Sharon and I both went into the field house to use the restrooms before we headed home. And we walked in the lobby of the field house, and there's all their trophy cases. And there's a gentleman standing there, an older gentleman with a sport coat on and everything else, just staring in that trophy case. And we struck up a conversation with him. We found out that he had been the quarterback of that team
Oh, wow.
that was honored, but he was a semi-retired CEO of a corporation in Texas. So obviously the guy had some money. He spent part of December in Vail, Colorado, skiing before he wintered in Naples, Florida. And we're just talking, and I don't, Rob, Doc Cox. His
Yeah.
dad was on that team, so we made that connection.
Wow.
He was telling us stories about Doc Cox's dad and all that kind of stuff. But it hit me. It hit me. This guy could probably be anywhere in the world. He probably has the means to be anywhere in the world this weekend, and he chose to come to little old East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And he was by himself probably just reliving. He's looking in that trophy case.
Yeah, yeah.
He's reliving those memories that we talk about. And and the reason I'm saying this is because I want to thank you guys for what you're doing for the alumni, because you're giving all of us alumni an opportunity in some way to have that same experience that guy's having. You've given us an opportunity to relive our college days and our football. And anybody that's watching this that has friends and teammates that haven't become a part of this, the RR4L, reach out to them, get them involved, I think. But kudos and thanks to you guys. I mean, you've got this thing going, and that just hit me. That hit me what that guy was going through. That's what playing college football, means. And a lot of people, it won't hit you until long after your playing days are over. But anyways.
Hey, John,
Fran, I think we just found our promo.
Exactly.
John just summed it up.
Exactly. John, it's as Rob and I talk about it all the time. It's as much fun for us, the guys we have met, the guys we've gotten to know. It's been fantastic, really.
Very rewarding and a lot of fun. And I always tell everybody, Fran does all the work. I just sit here and talk football. So I love that.
Thank goodness, because I can't.
Rob, you're just a pretty face, right?
I've been told that once in a while.
John, thanks a lot, man. We're going to head out. I greatly appreciate it.
Coach, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, guys. Have a good evening.
All right. Thanks for your support, man. Be well.
All right.
See you, John.
Take care.